Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS 82 apostrophe here on Super Bowl Sunday. What else would I be doing but getting things back into motion with my channel and everything else? Those of you who subbed or just watched my last couple, drop the comments. So appreciate it. This time I'm going to just, I did have something in mind and then my brain just clicked into another gear and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to kind of do the same thing but 1982 and explain a little bit why we call ourselves VHS 82 apostrophe. Celebrated 1982 with everything I have in terms of horror. And so that is really, I'm going to divide it into two pieces. And, but first, it is Super Bowl Sunday, if I didn't mention this. So for those of you who are already locked into that, watching the pregame hype and all that junk, being that my Bills aren't there, of course, I didn't miss at all being locked in for the last 2 weeks of hype and all that junk. So I'm just running with the Georgia colors, but I do have my Bills lapel. So, I mean, I'm there. My Bills flag is rolling outside today, and the game will be on later on the TV and whatnot. We'll probably have some chips and cheese, jalapenos, all that junk. Anyways, let's roll in. Let's just cover a few things real quick. As I think it's going to be the habit of mine from now on. It's not everything, but like one of the ways I stay plugged in, aside from my buddies who keep me informed of some of the things, and is bloody disgusting. Just occasionally things will pop up and newsworthy and they're worth talking about. So I'll hit that one or two. But real quick, Iron Lung apparently is still raking it in. So kudos to that director and all that he was able to do with that small fortune from his YouTube channel. And yeah, who knows what may be in store for him as a young director. Sam's YouTube channel, my son Sam, it is, of course, he's Flying Kite and at Horseshow04. Links are down below. Always put the links and stuff. If I'm going to point something out specifically, you know, I'll put the links down. You may just have to go down a little bit, but they're there. But definitely check it out. He's sort of getting things into a new gear again, trying things out. And he's got this new thing going where he'll pick a film, give you sort of the short version. So, 7 to 10 minutes or whatever. And boy, does he pump out a lot of info within that short period of time. But then he'll do a deeper dive as a separate video for those interested. And so definitely check that out and give him a sub. Scream 7, forgot to mention that last time. There were 3 films I'm really looking forward to. One we've already covered, The Bone Temple, and of course Evil Dead Burn, or Burns. And then of course at the end of the year, what is it? Godzilla -1. Yeah, I always get mixed up if it's -0, -1. We've already had one. But that's the end of the year. But I keep forgetting Scream 7, end of the month. It's coming up soon. And so I know this is not going to live up to the hype. They did a poster that sort of was a tipping of the hat to the original 74 Chainsaw, which is funny I bring that up because that's coming up in a minute. And so, I mean, they've already set the bar pretty high for themselves. If this movie would have come out, well, if Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson would have just worked out a finale, a standalone film to complement the original trilogy, I mean, who knows what they would have come up with. But unfortunately, they started a trilogy, and then Wes left us early. And so there is late for a bit, and then of course we got the new trilogy off the ground, and then of course that was just filled with problems, and not necessarily the films themselves as much as just other things, right? Of course COVID didn't help at all, especially didn't help the new Halloween trilogy and all that junk. But so here we are. Apparently Kevin Williamson had to talk what's her name, Sydney, to come back, and of course she had to talk him to come back. And so the original screenwriter from the original trilogy is going to wrap everything up, I hope, in a way that makes, so it's a funny story. Got to be careful of the funny stories. We're gonna lag on time, But I mean, we saw, my wife and I and daughter went to a drive-in to see Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones, and just assumed Scream was just coming out. I was not. I mean, I'm sure I knew it was Wes Craven and everything, but I mean, it was before. It was before Scream, right? And so our intentions really weren't to stay and watch the second film. My wife really wasn't interested in watching it, so we were going to watch Volcano and just leave. As would happen, go figure, they play Scream first, Volcano second. So we ended up watching Scream. Becca sort of napped out through the first film, and then we woke her up for Volcano, but we watched Scream together. And it was sort of a beginning of a, this is a bit stretch maybe, but a minor love affair with the trilogy. When the sequel comes out in the theater, we go to see it. When the trilogy wraps it all up, we go to see it. At the end, Scream 3. And it was a fun ride. It was a great ride. We enjoyed. So, for us, I'm hoping they wrap things up nice. And so I'm looking forward to that. I know it's not, my expectations, believe me, the bar is going to be set low enough to where I feel pretty good walking out of the theater. Although I will gripe endlessly if it doesn't end. And I can't just assume or expect it's going to end the way I want it to end. But there is a certain puppeteer I want to be the one pulling all the strings. Even if we have to, suspend all rationale, it'll be fun nonetheless. So anyways, Takashi Miike he apparently has got a new movie with Norman Reedus and the girl that plays the new Supergirl. I don't think there's a title to it, but it is promising to be a violent possession flick. So that's very curious that he is back at it. The director of films like Audition, 13 Assassins, of course, is a masterpiece. Itchy the Killer. And then, of course, he's probably got 1,000 movies on IMDb. I don't know. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but that man never stops working. And, of course, he's also on the Chain Reactions documentary for Texas. Second time I brought that up. I'm about to bring it up a third time here. Owen Aja, apparently, Alexandra Aja, of course, High Tension, is apparently going to direct Under Paris 2. I'm not a big fan of Under Paris. And it worries me that he's not getting other opportunities that perhaps he really wants if he's getting slated for Under. I know it made a lot of money for Netflix and everything, but my idea of this director is something a little more grand than Under Paris 2. So anyways, all right, last piece of news. This is awesome, man. So A24, okay, so not a long time ago, but sometime back, what's his name there? Glenn Powell, of course, absolutely love that guy in Maverick, that Top Gun sequel. He's so awesome in that. He was attached to the possibility and idea of doing Texas Chainsaw. Of course, at that moment, as it was being conceived, no one really knew what that meant or what that looked like. Is this just assumed it was going to be a film of some sort? So I really got excited there for. Here's a guy who seemingly loves the first film, loves the idea, and wants to be a part of getting it going again, right? And so I got really intrigued by that idea, and my hopes is maybe he would show up as maybe a bounty hunter, or I'm trying to think of a character that would fit him well in a movie like this, sheriff or somebody. And I know we've kind of covered this ground before in the Texas Chainsaw films, but someone who's been on the track, perhaps, maybe hunting them down, maybe being paid to hunt them down. Anyways, I know he'll have a role as producer. I don't know if he plans on being in it. I hope so. I really do. But Kim Henkel, screenwriter for the original film, along with Tobe Hooper, and the second one and the third one, I think most of them. He has decided to join A24 and Glenn Powell and the other Spooky Pictures, I think, and be part of the process. So this thing really seems to be getting off the ground a bit. I am a bit of a fan, I'm still holding on to the old steel book of the original, and of course, and the old 86, man, comfort food, the old Arrow release of Texas 2. And then Leatherface, of course, I got another one back there somewhere. Leatherface was a little bit of a disappointment, only because, see, okay, so here's the deal. All right, I've been thinking about this a long time, creep show reference, I can hold my breath a long time. Okay, so for those of you who've seen Leatherface promised a couple French directors, Inside, Among the Living, The Deep House, beautiful cinematography. That might be the best part of Leatherface. It's just the cinematography, or the deleted scenes involving young grandpa. If you just happen to have Leatherface on your shelf, regrettably, because maybe you didn't like the film, but you picked it up and you never checked out the extras, go check out the deleted scenes involving younger grandpa. It gets pretty intense. Plus an alternative opening, which really should have been, I hate the birthday opening. But anyways, it sort of promised this idea that it would bring you up to the doorstep of the 74 film. You know, kind of like we've been promised with Alien, right? Like somehow Alien Earth would lead us up to the doorstep or something. They may try to, but I don't know. I wasn't ultimately that impressed with that whole production. I mean, it has its moments. Welcome to Derry was a much more polished attempt to do something like that, in terms of opening up a grand world of Stephen King, Lovecraftian way, you know, in terms of, with Lovecraft, everything surrounds Miskatonic. With Stephen King, it's Castle Rock, right? And so it promised to sort of give us a prequelish type scenario, which offered us an opportunity, maybe not leaving us on the doorstep of the 74 film, but maybe leaving just enough room for a potential other movie to bridge the gap between that and the 74. And it just, I don't know what happened. I mean, you see here, okay, so if you're doing Leatherface, maybe I got it wrong, but if I'm doing Leatherface, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you have the 74 film clearly in view, but maybe also in view, and as important, you have the 86 film in as far as its characters. And you ask yourself, if we're going to do this Leatherface, and it's going to be back in the 50s, say, a little bit more of a period piece, then where are the characters we see in 86? Let's develop them to the fullest and set the stage for who these people, where these people are in terms of ultimately in the 74 film, but more importantly, the 86 film. And maybe let's create an interesting trilogy arc that begins with an attempt to stand far back, looking ahead, and then ultimately in the closing moments of the 86 film with Grandma, you have that in mind of building sort of an arc, right, of continuity, and that's anything and everything what Leatherface ultimately was in the end. I don't know. So like with the 84 attempt to join up with, I don't know what the idea is. Like, what films in the franchise do these people care about? Do they care about the Netflix Texas movie that came out just a couple years ago that had, again, great possibilities and sort of fell flat on its face in terms of character arc and at least the possibilities of what they could have done in a slightly more politically incorrect way, I guess, but it would have been good, very good. That's another conversation, I guess. What aspect of the franchise do they care about? Are they in love with the first film and the second film? Have they seen Leatherface? Have they seen where Leatherface aired? And perhaps are they going to take us back again, from sort of a view way back? Because, when you talk about the 74 film, that film has grown on me over the years. It'll never be comfort food to me, but there are pieces of dialogue that almost are. I'm intrigued. Like when they get first to the house, and what's his name there in the wheelchair? I always forget my names, but he's going on and on when they're visiting their daddy's house, grandpa's house. And this is after they go to the cemetery and everything, right? So they're there at the house. Of course, it's condemned and emptied, and I'm surprised it's still standing. But they're there, and he's sort of reminiscing about the good old days when they would have family reunions and everything there. And of course, the river was full, the creek bed in the back of the property, and they would go back there to the swimming hole, which will follow the characters, across that dried up bed. And then the Sawyer house is just beyond. And so it just offers this intriguing idea of, if this is, I'd just say, if this is 53, 54, or even in the 60, and you're having these family reunions, and there seems to be no hostility or no ill will between them and then the other side of the creek, the Sawyer house, then where are the Sawyers then in terms of like the dynamics of the family? Are they, have they already begun cannibalizing members of the community, or have they not hit that point yet? And this is a sudden drastic fall in. But it just, through some of the dialogue, offers just incredible ideas of like where you could take that cinematically, right? Cinematically, where you can take that. And so that's what I want. I want to see like that part of the world opened up a little bit more, where we get to see certain characters and circumstances, and perhaps in a way Leatherface tried to do, but didn't do very well. But ultimately, for me personally, I would love it if they had the closing moments of Texas TCM 2, the 86 film, at the very closing moments with Grandma. Like if she had, she ultimately, we get to see her in this series. We get to see Grandpa in this series. And we really get to see if they just listen to Tobe Hooper's commentary and everything, every interview, anything and everything they could get their hands on, Toby-wise and Kim Henkel-wise, and just really absorb it and think, where was his vision headed? He wanted to do a third film, and I think it was going to be like Valley of the Texas Chainsaw, Valley, something like that. And I've read it in one of my Fangorias. There's somewhere there's a blurb about the potential, the news had come out that a third was coming, and not the third that we ultimately got, but a third was coming, and it was going to be Tobe Hooper. And the vision of it was grand. I mean, instead of just this house, now you've just upped it to an entire like village, man, or something like that. It just was grand. And it's really too bad that vision did not get seen through. And that's the beauty of Fangoria. Like, if you've got a stack of Fangoria somewhere, go back and look through those things. You'll find like newsworthy items of things that were coming down the pike or hoped to come down the pike that never came down the pike. And then you just kind of like, man, I kind of wish some of that stuff would have materialized. So where's this all going with A24? And who's going to, who's going to be the platform for it? So anyways, it really does beg the question. And I'm pretty stoked. So 1982. 1982. I was 12. Was born in 1970. In around April there, I will turn 12. 82 was, man, a fantastic year in film. And MrParka's channel, which YouTube channel is down, I link you to a video essay he did on 1982, which runs about 3 hours and 18 minutes. I got through that bad boy, and look, what I have in my 82 collection in terms of horror films, it's barely a rock skipping across the surface of a calm piece of water, knowing underneath there's an entire world. That is his video essay in a nutshell. It is his top 25 at the end. Now, some of the stuff I'll show you, I have, and it's in the top 25. And some of the ones that hit towards that 3, 2, 1, you won't be surprised necessarily. But some films that are in the 25 you might not have even heard of before. I mean, that is the beauty of his video essay. And I can't imagine how much time and effort and work went into that. So I applaud that. But I will probably go back to that as a resource. But that link to that video essay, and through that link, obviously you can access his whole channel. And he has got some of the most awesome content. If you're serious about film, very serious. He's got some great guests on there, and when they do top 10s and stuff, a nice panel, and some good stuff for sure. So that essay did not, like, in any real way formulate or put into, perspective what I wanted to do. I just saw it as an extra item of interest to take a look at, just talking to him, and he mentioned to me that he had did it, and it was there. And so my thanks to him for mentioning that. And also I had a couple questions I bounced off of him, and he was very kind with his time and pointed me in the right direction. So I appreciate that. So his link is down there below, and definitely if you've never been into that channel, then you definitely got to give him a sub and start getting deep into some of his content, starting with that video essay from 82. It's pretty awesome. All right, so 1982, here's how I'm going to do it. Break it 2 videos, right? And I've already gone almost 20 minutes, not too bad, I guess. I'm going to break down in terms of ranking. It's not like a real ranking per se, but I am going to introduce the films that I have when they were released, the month they were released, and just do it like that. And then speak to each one as I do. Some I might say 1 or 2 things. Some I may actually give a little bit more of. So let's, and by the way, if you ever at conventions and you can find old gore zones and Van Goghs, man, I was at the Living Dead convention at the beginning of the summer, and I was able to pick up the Motel Hell cover. That's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. All right, 1982. So I'm going to go through, and then at the end, before I end, I'm going to do like an honorable mention, sort of, kind of, only to show you some of the other major movies that were in 82. Some may surprise you. Some of you may already know this whole deal. So, all right, let's go ahead and just start. In 1982, February, only one film that I have was released in February, on the 12th of February, and that is, of course, The Beast Within. Ronnie Cox is the standout actor in there, of course. I love him in Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. Felipe Mora is the director. This one, I just remember this one in the TV spots and whatnot. Sort of did this countdown thing, and of course the special effects to this transformation into this creature, this monster. It just was one of those things where I know they really capitalized on that, through the TV spots and whatnot. And as a 12-year-old or soon-to-be 12-year-old punk, those were the things that just really popped out at me, right? The Beast Within comes out, released on February 12th. The second film released on the 17th of February, at least here in the United States. Over in Italy, I think it got an earlier release, but of course it is Dario Argento, one of his all-time greats, Tenebrae, or as it was on videocassette when I rented it as a kid, Unsane, which would have been that artwork, but the title would have been Unsane. My nice Arrow release, and I guess I should do that for each one real quick. Usually with some of these Arrows I picked up at the really beginning of my collecting through spring sales and whatnot, and a lot of times I get the standard version of things. I don't usually get them as they come right out first time, and if I do, it's a special treat. But this one, man, well, what's his name there? John Saxon, Dario Nicolodi are just two. Ijali, memorable ending, some great pulling from, what's his name, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Just a great gialli, and really just some of the gore, some of the kill scenes are just absolutely, well, it's Dario at one of his best moments, right? One of his best moments. Tenebrae, in March. Now, I just got this in last night, and I watched it last night, and that is, of course, Charles Band's Parasite. And just a standard $8 for the DVD. This is, of course, Kino Lorber, which, means you're going to get some extras in there, commentaries and whatnot. But, I mean, it's just basic, the disc. But, I mean, it's Kino Lorber, so, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Demi Moore. I looked it up. Not her first film. I was a little surprised. It's her second film. So she was really young in her acting career. Stan Winston's credit on the parasitical effects. And he's at the early part of his career with Parasite. If you've never seen Parasite, I would recommend it as if you're a fan of Stan Winston and you want to see his early stuff. If you happen to be a fan of Demi Moore or Charles and Richard Band, then definitely. Also, it sort of opened up the way to the fad in the early 80s of 3D, which included a film that will be coming up that's released in August, but also Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D. There's sort of this wave of 3D films. And I got to see, I saw Jaws 3D, of course, and the other that will be mentioned in August. I don't want to talk about that one. But Parasite is the only one in March, on the 12th of March. In April, only one film, my birthday month, and that is, of course, Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case. And I know this has had way better releases. This is something weird video. Here's the back. Of course, it's not bad. I mean, there's definitely some extra features on commentaries, TV spots, outtakes, and whatnot. And what I've wanted to get up my hands on for the longest time is the sequel, because the sequel is what I remember most growing up renting VHS. It's the one that a lot of sequels were upping the ante in terms of the grand visions, the special effects, just the largeness of it. You think of Hellraiser 2, Hellbound, you think of Phantasm 2, you think about films like that. Trying to think of another big one like that. That just seemed to be Terminator 2 Judgment Day, of course. I mean, it was like that idea, right? Just taking something. And it just seemed like Basket Case, a lot of the horror film sequels were doing that. Until, and this actually is the 20th anniversary edition. I'm pretty sure I got this out in the wild for just a couple bucks. So definitely not a waste of money. Plus, if you want to see New York in its heyday, that I love, like some of those early 80s movies where they don't have a license to have a camera, but they just take it all in, and you can see New York the way New York was, right? That's really cool. So that's April. In May, there's only one film that comes out, and quite frankly, I became new to this film later on the 7th of May, Forbidden World. An Alan Holzman film starring Michael Bowen, who Tarantino obviously loves because he had him in Kill Bill Volume 1, Jackie Brown. He was also in Night of the Comet. This is, of course, Roger Corman's cult classics. There's the back, of course. This is a Scream or Shout release, so you're going to get extras and everything. This actually was a really nice release. So you got Forbidden World, of course, as it was known as Mutant, right? Yeah. So you there we go. Actually, the Mutant looks a lot like Parasite. That is hilarious. And then the alternative artwork as well, which is really cool. I'll just show you. For Mutant. This one I also probably got out in the wild for a few bucks. There's a place I go to, CD Warehouse, where usually, even though you're getting it used, there's usually the books are in there and everything. And so they do a really, really good job of making sure you're getting as mint as possible on a used item. The other film that came out in May, there's only two on the 7th. Well, when I say only two that I have, right, also came out on the 7th. And that is, of course, one that also stole a lot of TV spots back in the day. And that is, of course, Mortuary, which got the nice MVD release, which has a nice poster in there. There's the Boom Mortuary. I picked this up just because I can't remember what the theme was, but I was, Bill Paxton's in this, by the way. He's always fun to watch. uh, for some theme related to body bags. And I remember from my childhood, and there's the poster in there. I really do need to get a small frame for that. Same artwork is, boom, the classic that you would have saw in a newspaper ad back in the day. And of course, MVD does its best to give you sort of the VHS aesthetic, right? Pretty cool. There was another one that I always remembered more than Mortuary, though, Mausoleum. And the only way I have that is it's taped on a video cassette tape from way back when I was a kid as a double feature with Halloween, of all things. Not of all things, but you know what I mean. It's just sort of together. The transfers, I am probably getting rough just because of the age of the VHS that it was taped on. June in '82 was stinking huge, man. I gotta say, the first one that came up on my list from June 4th from Tobe Hooper. You know what it is, of course. Working with under Steven Spielberg's his help as producer. This might be. I heard it mentioned. I want to say it was MrParka said it. I'll just give him credit. Maybe if someone else I was listening to said it, but I'm pretty sure it was him, the greatest gateway horror film ever made. And it was the first time, I mean, I've heard of people mention gateway horror. I've never heard anyone mention like that. And you think about it for 2 seconds, like, yeah, because this came out, this was what, PG, and you think of some of the intense scenes in here, of course. This is why PG meant parental guidance, okay? Back in the day, I kind of missed that, where PG sort of upped the ante, and then, of course, R was really for the adults and whatnot. And I don't know how Rob gets away with it, with not having the N17 rating, or whatever that rating is, NC-17, or underrated. Somehow, I don't know how he gets it out on his movies, but you kind of think of it progressively, these movies from '82, even some of the more intense moments, and this is, of course, I just gotta say that, of course, you got the whole controversy with Tobe and who directed it more. Well, I think Steven probably had his hands pretty full with E.T. And if you listen to Bill Moseley and Carol Williams from Texas 2, they were on a pod together talking other things, but Tobe came up in this context, and they were both very adamant that their understanding was this was Tobe's film. And the more I hear now, the more it seems like that's where most lean towards. It is his movie. But, you have this debate. I mean, you had it with Christian Ibe and Howard Hawks in The Thing from Another World, 1951. The same debate. There's certain movies you can't get away from the opening aesthetic that is so Spielbergian. I mean, it is Spielberg. I mean, but it's Tobe Hooper, and there are moments in here that are so Tobe Hooper. There's no way Spielberg would have done what he did on film. It just wasn't going to happen. So, I'm, and I really do need a 4K of this desperately. This needs to be, but I have to say, next to, I'm old enough to remember when Monday night at the movies, Sunday night at the movies, that meant something. The family getting around the TV, mom or dad making popcorn the old-fashioned way, and we're all like taking in The Wizard of Oz or Jaws or, whatever. Poltergeist kind of filled that same slot. I mean, of course, but it was HBO, right? Or we rented it on VHS from the store. But Poltergeist was that phenomenon, man. It was sort of a benchmark in this is how you do a good movie. Not necessarily filled with a ton of junk. Interpret junk however you will. It is it probably is the greatest gateway horror film ever made. And yet some scenes do get intense. The tree eating the boy, pretty intense. The corpses coming up out of the pool in the yard and whatnot. Craig T. Nelson's Unforgettable. And Joe Beth Williams, and of course the kids, and then all the controversy surrounding the early deaths of some of them. This really is, though. And then what's her name? I think I wrote her down. Her name, the psychic there, that helps. I should remember her name, but just a fantastic movie that really does need to be in my 4K collection. Let's see here, from released on the 11th of June from Paul Lynch, one of my favorite, from back in the 80s, Humongous. And this, of course, is a Scorpion release, I believe. Yeah, Scorpion release. So there's the back of that. Island horror. I love my island horror, man. Absolutely love my island horror. And this has got some great creature effects. Janet Julian, David Wysocki, John Waldman. Here are the monsters, little toys. Once they were little, girls and boys. Humongous. The TV spot, again, memorable TV spot for me as a kid. Absolutely memorable. Humongous. Absolutely one of my favorite from back in the day. Okay, so released on the 25th of June. Was not very welcomed at the time, but now is considered maybe John Carpenter's best moment. And that is, of course, The Thing from 1982, starring Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, Keith David, and you know what? The entire all-male cast. That, you know, if there is a compliment to go with The Thing, it is The Descent in terms of an all-female cast. That is great to watch as well. I love it when an all-male or an all-female cast just gets it right. And The Thing definitely gets it right. I got The Thing. The Thing is one of my favorite. It is in my top 5 of all time. And there'll be another one coming up too in my top 5 of the greatest films ever. You know, Jaws usually, you know, sits at number 1, but The Thing is right there, and they interchange 1 and 2 all the time. But so, you know, because boutique labels offer you, you know, just a plethora of extras and opportunities, whether to finally get a, what's his name, the cinematographer, Dean Cundy, to do, he did his commentary track. I want to say it was the Scream Factory release or the Arrow release, one or the other. Let me just look right here because I'm about to show you the Arrow. I think it's actually the Scream Factory. Yeah, it's the Scream Factory, which you get. Yeah, the Scream Factory is when you get Dean Cundy's as cinematographer, his commentary track. But you know, I got the regular standard VHS, but I also got the widescreen special collector's edition. Of course, back in the day, that's all we had, right? Was our VHS tapes, and a few of mine have survived the years. And this still, man, you know you got a good tape. Like, look how much film is there. And of course, I should have rewound. Be kind and rewind. I did not rewind this one, but you could tell when it's rewound how much videotape compared to a tape I'm going to show you later, probably in part 2, where they either put, you know, they either use that much tape or they use this much tape, and the transfer does not last. And I'll talk about that when I get to that. But the VHS release, of course, compliments of Arrow, which I think the transfer, and it's one of the, I'm not that big on alternative artwork, especially for a movie like The Thing, but that's pretty awesome, man. That is pretty awesome. Just kind of give you an idea. Arrow really did a good job with this edition. And then, of course, I do have it on 4K, of course, and Universal hit it out of the park with the transfer. It looks absolutely beautiful, sounds beautiful. And again, not a lot of extras. And that's why you do boutique labels. I mean, look at this. This is why you go a boutique label for the extras if you like that content. But if you just want the picture and maybe, you know, a commentary track, or, you know, like the Terror Takes Shape is a extra that has floated on most major releases. That's kind of the standard doc, right? For The Thing. The Thing, I said, I've seen it in the theater. Finally got to see it in the theater. I may save that story for, actually, yeah, I'll save it for a minute here. Talk about it here in a second when I do my honorable mentions. Let's knock out the last one where I'm going to cut it off. And look, we're already 40 minutes, so I'm going to try my best to wrap this up here in a couple minutes. The last one I'm going to talk about that came out in July, on the 22nd of July, of course, is Manhattan Baby from Lucio Fulci, which is a movie, I'll be honest, the first time I watched, I was like, but it didn't take long for it to grow on me, and I started to see all the hidden potential of what perhaps was envisioned with this movie, but limited to budget and whatnot. I think this is the Anchor Bay release, which was just a forebear of the early release companies, right? And of course, what's his name there? Christopher Connolly, Giovanni Frezza, of course, House by the Cemetery fame. You know, the one, the kid's voice, dubbed voice that everyone just wants to hammer all the time. Or was it dubbed? Anyways, it's the kid that everyone always just goes trashes. But Manhattan Baby, again, I would have seen this on the VHS tape as a kid renting it, and I'm sure I probably did, because I had a video store that had a sort of like a castle effect in the back corner of the store where all the horror movies were. You had to walk up a couple of steps to get into it, and they had a shelf that was, I think, more or less for foreign horror films. But of course, Italian cinema took up a lot of it, just because a lot was coming out of Italy at the time. But definitely some really cool imagery in this movie. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to cut it right there, but I'm also going to hit some quick honorable mentions. So in May, this just gives you an idea how big 82 was. In May, this is I think number 4 or 5 on the greatest films ever for me, but it is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan came out in I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Let me back up one. In May, I'm so sorry. In May, Conan the Barbarian, and believe it or not, the only release I have of it is still VHS. I really need to do a serious upgrade. I'm pretty sure Arrow put out a nice edition of this. But Conan the Barbarian came out in May. Also, we revisited this last night, actually. The Road Warrior came out that summer. Mel Gibson's follow-up to his original Mad Max. And then, of course, I wish I had the original artwork to show you, but it is my most entertaining Rocky movie. And that is Rocky 3 came out that summer, which I saw in the theater. I don't remember seeing The Road Warrior, per se. I do not remember seeing Conan. It's always possible, but I don't remember. Could have seen it at a drive-in. But also, and then in June, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan came out. The follow-up to Spacey, the original episode from back in the TV heyday of Star Trek. This is easily my favorite Star Trek film. But The Search for Spock is one that is like right behind it. And the motion picture is actually has grown on me over the years. Has really grown on me. I do love the whole franchise of Star Trek, at least in terms of the original cast. Oh my lord, Firefox came out. Now this is what I wanted to share with you real quick. A buddy of mine and me, so-called buddy, we had basically fibbed our way to getting dropped off at the movie theater to see Firefox, when in fact we were going to go see The Thing. But when he saw the theatrical poster for The Thing, he checked it out. And no matter what I could do, I could not talk him out of it. And so as a, I would have been 12 already. As a 12-year-old boy, when did we say this came out? June. Yeah. So, I didn't get to see The Thing at 12. I saw Firefox instead. And so, funny thing is when we got picked up in the car by my mom, she started to quiz us because I think she kind of figured we weren't really there to see Firefox. I mean, that's not a big leap, right? But we did see it. And so when we started telling all about Firefox, that convinced. Now I will say this: in the years since, It's really, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. And I should have a better upgrade than just the DVD snapper case. But Clint Eastwood, man, little slow pace, but enjoyable. I really enjoy it. And then, of course, one of the, if not the greatest science fiction movies ever to come out, Sir Ridley Scott's Blade Runner came out the same month. So you're starting to get an idea that there I just mentioned Star Trek 2, Blade Runner, Firefox, but Rocky 3, Road Warrior, Conan the Barbarian, and then, of course, the movies I highlighted out of my horror film collection had come out that summer. And we still got another full video. So with that being said, I will see you in just a couple minutes.
We might be useful to you.